Hello, welcome to Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Yunke Tade. The headlines. Washington slaps sanctions on an armed group and a mining firm in the Democratic Republic of Congo, accusing them of profiting from illegal mining. It comes as the US spearheads peace efforts in the East while eyeing access to critical minerals there. 5 years on since a law aimed at improving transportation for agricultural workers in Tunisia came into effect, female farmers say little has changed. The workers say employers continue to cram them into unsafe trucks, making travelling a deadly affair. The Grand Magal wraps up in Senegal. Millions of Muslim pilgrims had poured into the city of Touba for what is one of the largest religious gatherings in West Africa. Thanks for joining us. Let's start in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the US government is cracking down on illicit mineral trading. Washington has slapped sanctions on an armed group, accusing it of profiting from illegal mining, extorting miners and smuggling minerals. Several mining firms are also facing penalties. The move comes as the US ramps up peace efforts in the East while eyeing access to critical minerals vital for its tech and energy industries. Emmett Livingstone has more now from Kinshasa.
The US Treasury has sanctioned several entities linked to the illegal trade of minerals in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Minerals have long sustained conflict in the troubled region and are mostly smuggled from Congo through its neighbours Rwanda and Uganda. Late on Tuesday, Washington said it was sanctioning the Congolese armed group Pareco FF, which controlled Eastern Congo's important Rubaya mining complex until last year. Rubaya produces 15% of the world's coltan, a mineral ore which is processed into tantalum, a key component in electronics. Alongside the Pareco FF, the US also sanctioned the Congolese company that bought the conflict minerals, as well as two Hong Kong-based firms involved in the trade. These measures block the assets of the sanctioned entities in the US and also forbid American businesses from transacting with them. These sanctions have come as a surprise, not least because it's now the M23 rebels who control the Rubaya mines, and Washington hasn't sanctioned the M23. It's not clear exactly why, but Washington is heavily invested in solving the crisis in Eastern Congo, and it's supporting peace talks between Congo and the rebel group, as well as between Congo and Rwanda, the state that backs the M23. The Trump administration has also been clear that it's interested in the region's minerals. In a statement, a US Treasury Undersecretary, John K. Hurley, said the United States would not hesitate to take action against groups that deny the US access to the critical minerals vital for its national defense.
We're staying with the US because South Africa is hitting back at a report from the State Department claiming human rights in the country significantly worsened last year. Pretoria has dismissed the assessment as inaccurate and deeply flawed. The report cites claims of the unfair treatment of white Afrikaners following major land reforms, which the Trump administration has claimed discriminates against the group. President Donald Trump has repeated false claims without evidence of a white genocide taking place in South Africa. Today is Women's Day in Tunisia. Hundreds of supporters of the Free Constitutional Party have been marking the day with a march in the capital, calling for the release of the party's leader, Abiy Moussi, who's currently in detention. Moussi has been behind bars since 2023 after police arrested her at the presidential palace entrance, accusing her of trying to incite chaos. Critics say her imprisonment is part of a wider crackdown on opposition voices. Protesters today are also calling for the release of all female political prisoners and an end to violence against women.
We're demanding freedom, the release of all the female and male prisoners in the name of free speech. We demand their freedom, and we demand that Tunisia be a state of free and independent institutions.
Well, we're staying with the plight of women in Tunisia because it's been 5 years since the passing of a law aimed at improving transportation for agricultural workers. Women, who make up nearly 80% of the workforce, say conditions remain brutal. The farmers say employers continue to cram them into unsafe trucks, turning already dangerous roads into deadly traps. The work itself is grueling and poorly paid. Liela Beles and Hamdi Tilili report now on what's changed since a tragic road accident in 2019 that claimed 12 lives.
At 5 in the morning in the countryside of Sfax, 15 to 20 women are crammed into trucks that take them to their workplace. They decline to speak, fearing retribution from their employers. So to better understand their problems, we went to meet Nabiha. In Hawariya, she acts as a transporter for these women in difficult conditions.
I transport them at the request of each farmer. Some need 5 women, others 4. This type of transport is dangerous, as you saw this morning. I don't carry many passengers and I drive very slowly. Sometimes they're late, but I prefer that than risking an accident, because I'm the one driving and I'm responsible. The advantage is that they feel safer with me.
Nabiha admits that this method of transport is illegal, but she says that the women have no other option.
They have to get to work. Here it's a farming region, so they have no option but to work in the fields. I would love to have a work permit, but the application criteria are difficult and expensive. You need a lot of money to buy a vehicle with 7 seats. And while waiting, these women still need to go to work.
But many farm workers endure terrible working conditions.
I'm waiting for the government to take action. I earn 20 dinars a day. That's not enough to live on. We're really exhausted. You can't even imagine what it's like to work in the fields when it rains.
Yet many have spoken out in recent years, like this past May at a demonstration in Congress organized in Tunis. But speaking out for their rights often carries consequences. Jamila Shatti, a worker in Jebeniana, paid the price.
Since I started the union, the driver won't let me ride in a strike anymore. They don't want me working for them because they know I won't keep quiet, that I defend women's rights, so now I'm unemployed.
On July 17th, a further 6 women farm workers were injured in a road accident.
It's time to take a look at other stories making headlines across the continent now. Amnesty International says thousands have been killed and hundreds arbitrarily detained by security forces and armed groups in southeast Nigeria since a crackdown began a decade ago on a regional independence movement. It comes 5 decades after a brutal civil war in the 1960s ended the breakaway Republic of Biafra. Yet the fight for autonomy remains a deeply charged issue in the Orange region. Uganda's biggest opposition party calls on the Constitutional Court to block a new law allowing civilians to be tried in military tribunals. It comes 3 months after Parliament passed the legislation, despite the Supreme Court's ruling earlier this year that military courts lack the legal authority to conduct fair and impartial criminal trials for civilians. Local and international rights groups have long accused Uganda's government of using military courts to silence political opponents. Emergency teams battle to put out the fast-moving flames of a mountain forest fire close to the city of Chef Owen in northern Morocco. 2 Canadair planes have been deployed to put out the blaze, which authorities say is major. Strong winds are fueling the fire, which has already devoured vast woodland in the tourist city. It comes as Morocco is gripped by a punishing heatwave. We're heading to Senegal now, where the Grand Magal is wrapping up. Millions of pilgrims have poured into the city of Touba for the annual event, honouring Sheikh Amadou Bamba, the founder of the Murid Brotherhood. Over the years, the event has transformed from a local tradition into a major international pilgrimage, attracting worshippers from across Senegal and around the world. Our correspondent in Dakar, Aminatu Diallo, tells us more.
Each year, millions of pilgrims from Senegal and beyond travel to Touba to renew their faith and honor Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, founder of Mouridism. The Magal marks his exile following his 1895 arrest by French colonial authorities. Accused of plotting a rebellion, he was deported to Gabon but was later allowed to return home.
Nous sommes aujourd'hui à Touba.
We are here in Touba today to answer the call of Serigne Touba, who invites all of humanity to join him in giving thanks, the highest and most inclusive form of worship.
Qui est la forme d'adoration la plus élevée et la plus inclusive.
The Magal has been listed as part of Senegal's intangible cultural heritage this year, with ambitions to gain UNESCO recognition.
The deeper meaning of the Magal's inclusion on the representative list of intangible cultural heritage lies in the sum of the values it promotes, not only during the celebration itself, but also in the daily life of the Mouride community, founded by Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, whose life and teachings were devoted to love, sharing, and forgiveness.
The gathering is a time of religious reflection, solidarity, and sharing, upholding the teachings of Senegal's largest religious brotherhood.
It's time for your daily African Nations Championship update now. Mauritania has triumphed against Burkina Faso 1-0 in a thrilling match, Mauritania clinching its win early on in the game in the first half. Well, today's other big clash was Madagascar and the Central African Republic. A 2-0 victory for Madagascar, who managed to break a deadlock with goals in the 84th minute before scoring again in the 94th minute to seal their victory. Well, that's it from all of us on the Eye on Africa team. Thanks for your company and stay tuned to France 24.
It would not be France without a summer break. Now, before we dive into a new season, here's just a sample of what 2025 has served up so far.
Gaza can and should be the jewel of the Palestinian people.
Ukraine is expendable in the eyes of the United States.
Question today is how do we live together in one planet and an aging population?
Has seen America change forever, Andrew Weissman?
Yeah, I think it has. I mean, I don't think you can put the genie back in the bottle.
What we are really seeing, actually, is the victory of Chinese policy.
Did the French state cover up for Nestle?
It appears to be so, yeah.
We have a new pope.
Russia, Greenland,
US,
Syria,
France,
Ukraine,
Germany, Iran, Israel, Palestine, Korea,
Poland,
India, Vietnam,
Canada.
New shows start August 25th here on France 24.